One of the features of NAV Easy Security when doing recording of permission is an ability to launch objects. You can launch both pages and reports. Launching objects is a very good way of redoing recordings in a later state, so the same thing you did last time, you just want to redo. It's also a great way to record permission for role centers where many menu items would need to be opened and do it the proper way every time. Makes it very easy to repeat the same process. You can do this launch process in any company, and that's of course mean you will have the data necessary to also go through a process. And to record the proper permission, there actually is a couple of Easy Security role centers. One is called Launch, and it have very little permissions for being read as you actually get into NAV, basically minimum access in here. So I have a fully working Easy Security database in here, and I logged in as the user in here. If we go take a look at one of the permission sets delivered with Easy Security in here, for example, these ones are recorded in multiple versions of NAV and repeated again and again in here. I can go look at the customer edit, and behind that record is something that is called the details, and that's where some extra data is stored in here. One thing is that I can see there is a page filter in here, and I can also see there's a report filter and some other settings in here. Basically, this one is used for launching the objects. So if I actually go use this function up here, I would see that it will open up page 21. It would actually open up a lot more than page 21 because it will use the source code analyzer. And it will open up all the fact boxes, so they will read all the necessary data. It will also launch some of the reports that are actually directly on the page itself in here. All this one can be controlled. If I don't want the reports, I will do only page relations down here, and then I won't get the reports. But we will take a look at that, how that works a little later here. Another option is I can also include menu items, and that will actually try launch any menu item you have on a page in here. And that's especially useful for a role center. So if we go find one of the role centers, the order processor one down here, I will see that the details up here lists 5 pages in here, and it will include the menu item. So basically on all these 5 pages that are being used for combining into the role center, you'll be able to go launch the objects and in that way find that information. To figure out what objects are actually being used in here, it's possible to go look in the designer and see the different page parts in here. And in that way you will find these numbers, what is the individual one. But you can also go back to a role center, and if you do help about this page, you would see that I'm currently using the Easy Security one, so I will see that that's the page number in here. You can see the individual pieces of this by activating something or clicking inside a portion of it and hit Control Alt and F1 in here. And in that way you'll be able to see the individual parts of certain things in here. So if I go click on this one in here, I should have activated that. Still keep on getting the role center. This one out here, I will see that that's actually a fact box out here being part of the role center. So you do that by using Control Alt and F1 to open up the help about. You can't use the help about because it will give you the main screen in here also. But let's get back to the launching in here. If I go launch in the Easy Security company, I really don't have any business data. So I want to use this function inside a different company, of course, where I have real business data I can use in here. Typically in Easy Security, we only have the data related to security, of course. So switching to another company, I need to do a few initial things to get this working in here. And I would normally go to my Easy Security menu and go to Security Setup and open up the first time in here. I don't want to run the complete setup because I already did that, but I want to set it up to be recording inside this company. It finds the ESA security company where we'll take a lot of the data from. The one thing I need to do is to put a recording identifier in. This identifier will allow me to have recordings using the same number series, but actually being able to combine them in here. I could also manually change the number series as I get to the next screen, but I'll put this one CRINT for Kronos International in here and add that to all my recordings in here. And then I will initialize a recording only setup. There's not a lot of things to do in here. Basically, it added a few things in here and I can now use recording in here. Most of the data is still maintained in ESA Security Company, but under task, I have this function about launching objects now. By knowing where to take the data from, you can now see it will pull in the information in here. And I have this customer edit, page 21. I can now go launch the objects in here. This one will launch 16 objects. The source code analysis know about pages that are related, so I will later on be launching all the fact boxes, but now I launch the main page. If it was an edit, I would at this point, of course, go in and change my address in here. And now it keeps on launching the other ones. It is possible you maybe want to go through a few different ones to ensure that you get all the data necessary, but it's basically now opening all the pages that was fact boxes on the customer guide. It also has a report on it, so it runs that report also in here, and I can see none of my objects failed in here. This process, as I was running it, was of course launching all the objects, and I could have a recording going at the same time. So that's the next step I actually want to be doing in here. I want to be recording with the source code or with the SQL profiler in here. So I have already in this environment set up a second service tier in here. I have one called nav recording using a different account so I can separate the transactions out here. With the SQL profiler, I will go launch a new trace. I will select only my database containing something with demo. And I have added a filter down here for my login name containing nav recording in here. So as I now launch this one, I will see nothing really happens in the database except a few transactions about checking objects in here. But the recording is now ready to be started when I have initialized it properly. To do this recording, I would need to restart my service tier in here. And I have set one setting here. This one is 2017. So I have actually unchecked my compile and load business app because I also want to be able to see all objects being used by the application in here. So as I now restart that one, I will go select my other server, the nav recording, select my Kronos International company, and compared to normal starting NAV, you see it is a little slower because it's actually going to read all the code from the database, so we can capture it with the SQL profiler down here. There's one thing more I actually want to do before I really do this, because I have a role center for Easy Security. It don't do a lot of readings, but I really want to have one that I have even less than that one. So I'll go to my user personalization, and instead of my Easy Security's role center, I actually will select one that is called Easy Security Launch in here. It have even less data being read in here. Using a sales order processor role center would actually require a lot of things to be read simply to open up that page. So for doing these launch recordings properly, you want to select this minimum role center in here. So as I now select the server, I will see that I really get the absolute minimum of permissions in here. Very, very few things are being part of this one in here. One of the things you can do is run this launch object function in here. So I'm ready. I want to get everything else ready. So I want to blank out my cache, restart my service tier. It of course closes my client. So I have to reopen it again when it's finished launching my service tier. So it's now ready to run. I want to get all the data to the point where I'm just waiting for the few things to do in here, and I will then go to my SQL profiler and start it in here. I can now launch the objects. And it takes a second to open the page because it's reading it and compiling on demand now. So it takes a little longer to do the pages in here. And since this one is an edit of a customer, I'm just going to change a single address field down here. I'll then close this page. Launch the next one, and you can actually do control page down and page up to switch between records if you wanted to in here. But else, in general, I'm just going to close all the pages as they are launching in here, because it will be capturing the necessary data in here. This one is a report. If you want to include the data for running the report, you would click OK down here. I just want to include the access for doing it in here. So I can see it finished launching. I'll go stop my trace and save it as a trace XML file. If I want to have two sessions in here, I can of course run another NAV session in here, and I can still be logged in as myself. But I'll be able to use two different service tiers in here. So I'll just switch to the other one, so I won't be kicked off all the time, and open up the Easy Security company. I can build a new permission set, edit customer, and I can add my new recording that I just created in here. These ones get quite big, so in this case you want to include this one in here. So I can see I got 110 permissions in my recording in here. That of course includes all the things I did, and very importantly, because I had the right setup on my service tier, I get both code units, queries, and everything else in here, and the report, the statement in here. But as I now attach this recording, it will update the permission sets in here, and it will apply the source code analysis. This process can now easily be redone. All you would basically have to do is go restart the service tier. And one of my sessions here get kicked out, of course, because that was the one running on that service tier. But my other ones still stay connected inside the EC Security company. I can reconnect. And even the login process, as you see here, is slow because first time you connect, it will actually read information to open up the NAV client in here. So I can now go ahead and launch objects again in here. I want to take a look at the other part of this one, the ability to record row centers in here. I now have the page filter, and I have include menu items. So I really only have 5 pages mentioned. But as I now launch objects, I would go restart my profiler. I'll leave it running in the background so we can see it. And then I will launch my objects in here. This one will do a lot of things. There's 46 objects. It will basically open up every page in the row center. And I'm not going to do anything, but it will capture all the read permissions necessary in here. So this one was my row center. This one is activities. And it will go through this one for all the pages in here. It will capture all the things necessary for reading. And here's a couple of reports. And then a whole list of pages in here that is available. For a row center, you shouldn't really do the transactions, like in this case I'm opening up the customer card. I should just be able to open the customer card and then separate the permission set for rest of it in here. And the profiler is pretty busy capturing all the things that are happening in here, both finding the objects being used, but also finding all the data needed for the pages, of course, in here. So one object failed in here, and you could go through it with the launch show errors in here, but it finished. So I will save this as a trace XML file, and this one is an order processor row center. And then minimize this one, go back to the one where I'm inside the Easy Security company and create a Rocenter order processor. Add my recording. And this one is an even bigger recording because there was a lot of data being read and many objects being used in here. Doing this one manually would be real time consuming. And in this way, it's simply the source code analysis that will do that. If you later on implement a new ISV solution, you do new customizations, you don't have to remember what to do and what to click on. You basically go launch the objects again. Source code analyzer will have found the new pages and what have been added to your Rocenter. And in that way, it will capture all the data necessary and all the code necessary to execute also in here. So it was 239 objects, most of them in here. Of course, most of it will be reads, some will be indirect read for flow fields. But there's quite a lot of code that actually is in here. And for opening up for the object level security that is supported with NavEasy Security simply by denying access, all you have to do is just have a Rocenter like this one, of course, because the permissions will add together. This one, adding the source code analysis, would even in the future account for new fact boxes and things like that being added in here. So a lot of things are ready to be used in here, including even all the pages for the Rocenter. So the ability to launch pages and also include reports are actually very, very powerful, especially for recording Rocenters or repeating a process at a later stage. You don't need to know what to do. You just launch the objects and then you have a short document describing change the address or something like that. By using another company, I did the setup simply to refer back to Easy Security, and then I selected the special Rocenter. And of course, I had the service tier already created for recording purposes in here.